Welcome back to Jane's Stories of Life. Today, the topic of football is on my mind. You know, the other night, Ohio State University won the national championship once again. So it was an exciting time for those of us who are Ohio State football fans and football fans in general, I think. And of course, we have playoffs going on in the NFL. I'm not sure why when I started being such a fan, but it happens. My dad played varsity football. He played football varsity in high school in Cleveland. He also played varsity football in college. Morgan played football in high school and in college. John played football in high school. So I guess I have a life full of men who were football players, and that helped. When I was in high school, my best friend, one of my good friends' fathers, took us to the games, and he's the one that really taught me the ins and outs of football. In Cleveland at that time, and Cleveland is a very cold city in the winter, girls in our high school were not allowed to wear pants at all. And we certainly could not wear pants to football games. So here we were on Friday nights when games were played, sitting on cold bleachers out in the cold and the snow and the rain and everything else in Cleveland with skirts or dresses on because we were not allowed to wear pants. Can you imagine? Oh my goodness. And then, of course, when I went to college, Ohio State. I loved Ohio State. I loved the size. I wanted a school that was huge, and it was. I missed one home football game the entire 4 years I was there because I was there, rain, sleet, snow. I didn't care. I was a fan, and I still am. I may not know all the ins and outs. I don't know all the technical things, but I just enjoy, and I yell and I scream, and I'm a very vocal fan. Our family was very sports oriented, of course. Morgan watched football all the time, and I would say, "What's the score? What's the score?" He never knew the score of the games. He never watched for the score. He watched for the strategies and for the plays. I did learn early on, never leave a man in charge of anything during a football game. When Cindy was a baby, two different Sundays I remember, I went somewhere, and the one time I left Morgan in charge. Cindy was sleeping in her crib. I said, be sure to check on the baby. Oh, yes, indeed. Well, Lord have mercy. I came home and Morgan said he went in to check on Cindy, and somehow from her crib, she had reached a jar of Vaseline. He walked in, he said she looked like a drowned rat. She had Vaseline on her face, all over her hair, all over her clothes, on the wall, and he learned a lesson then, and so did I. The other time I remember I left a pot roast in the oven. I said, check the roast, turn the oven off. It should be ready in about an hour. Well, guess what? It was the color of this sweater I have on. It was burned to a crisp because, of course, he was involved with the game and never quite, by the time I guess he smelled it, it was too late. But those were a couple instances. I also never told him anything or asked any significant questions during football season while he was watching as well. But we were fortunate. We went to the Football Hall of Fame on our way to Cleveland. I had one of my classmates, Paul Warfield, who is one of the inductees in the Hall of Fame. So it was a thrill to see Paul's bust there in the Hall of Fame. We didn't go to football games the way we went to baseball games. We went to a lot of baseball games as the kids were growing up because we were close to, 4 hours from Montreal, 3 hours from New York, 3 hours from Boston. We were about an hour from Cooperstown, the Baseball Hall of Fame. So we just did a lot more baseball-related things in our travels, of course, during summer and spring vacations. But nevertheless, I'm a football fan. I follow the Browns, the Cleveland Browns, of course, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Morgan was an Eagles fan. John is a Washington Redskins, Commanders fan. Cindy was a Carolina Carolina fan. And so we had quite a diversity of things. The only Browns game I think I ever went to was one that John, when he worked for CNN Sports, he was able to get, he was supposed to have tickets for us to go to the opening game when the Cleveland Stadium was rebuilt after they had moved the team to Baltimore and the Cleveland Browns franchise was reinstated. Cleveland was playing Pittsburgh as their first game, the Steelers. Somehow the tickets that John was supposed to have, that somebody was supposed to leave at the ticket office, never arrived. So we had flown to Cleveland, Cindy and her husband and the children and Morgan and I, to go to this opening game, only to find out that the tickets were never taken to the will call window for us. So we ended up having to buy tickets to get into the game. And it was an exciting time in Cleveland because the Browns had been returned. Unfortunately, the Steelers won that game, but hey, it was a wonderful experience. But I'm still a football fan. I still, watch my teams. The other team, I don't follow any other teams particularly. And I just, football is exciting. So I'm looking forward to this year's, to the game on Sunday with the Eagles and the Commanders. I don't like these name changes, but they are what they are. So anyway, football, anybody ready? Was that cry at the beginning of Monday Night Football? Are you ready for some football? Yes, indeed. So anyway, those are my football thoughts and memories. Cherish your memories and pass them on.